We continue today in the second Mishna, completing the second Mishna in the first parak. So remember, again, we'll be speaking about Shimon HaTzadik. And Shimon HaTzadik told us that the world stands on three pillars. Ala Torah, ala Avoda, Ba'gemilas Chasadim. Torah learning. Avoda, we spoke about yesterday. Could, again, sacrificial service or prayer. And Gemilas Chasadim, acts of charitable kindness. And it's very beautiful. The Ger Rebbe says that these three pillars really represent the three different aspects or three different primary relationships we have in life. Torah, he says, represents the relationship we have with ourselves. Bein Adam li atzmo. I learn Torah, so when I learn Torah, again, I grow as an individual. When I learn Torah, I self-actualize. So the learning of Torah, the pillar of Torah, represents the need to maximize my relationship with myself. Avoda, which refers to sacrificial service or prayer, represents Bein Adam lamakom, my relationship between myself and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And of course, Gemilas Chasadim, acts of charitable kindness, Chesed, that represents Bein Adam L'Chavero. That represents the relationship I have with my fellow human beings, with my fellow man. But it's interesting to note that the Bartenura, in his commentary on Mishnah, says something amazing. When he comments on Gemilas Chasadim, so what is Chesed? We all know what Chesed is, acts of kindness, acts of charity. But listen to what he writes. T'chsiv olam chesed. Yibani quotes the pasuk from Tehillim that the world is built on chesed. Ugemilas chasadim. What are examples of gemilas chasadim, of acts of charitable kindness? L'sameach chasanim. To go ahead and gladden grooms. To make a chasan kal, to make a bride and groom happy at their wedding. L'nachim avelim. To go ahead and comfort mourners. To go and pay a shiva call. Levakir cholim. To go and to visit the sick. Velikbar mesim, and to bury the dead, ukiyotze baza, and other activities like this. And I found it striking when looking at this Bartenura that normally, when we think about chesed, at least when I think about chesed, so very often you think about tzedakah, charity, right? Giving of money, giving of resources. Yet it's interesting that, and of course, giving tzedakah, being charitable, is a form of chesed. Yet amazingly enough, the Bartenura does not include giving charity in this list of items. So what's the common denominator amongst the activities that the Bartenura highlights? Gladdening the bride and groom, visiting, comforting the mourners, visiting the sick, burying the dead. I think the Bartenura is teaching us something amazing. None of them require an outlay of cash. None of them require money. They actually don't require me to give up of anything other than myself. How do you gladden a chassan and kala, bride and groom? You dance at their wedding. You smile. You wish them a heartfelt mazel tov. How do you go ahead and console mourners? You know, the halacha is that when you walk into a shiva home, one is not supposed to begin conversation with the mourner, but rather one waits for the mourner to begin the dialogue. So you know what nichum avelim is? You show up. You show up. You show up and you sit in the person's house and you sit opposite them, and with your nonverbal communication, you say, I'm here. I just want to let you know that I'm here. I just want to let you know that I'm with you. I just want to let you know that if you need anything, you're not saying a word, but I'm giving of myself to the individual. Bikur cholim. Do you know what the mitzvah bikur cholim is? To go and not just to make small talk with someone who is ill, but to find out what they need. And very often it's the same idea. Just showing up. Just giving of yourself to the others sometimes is the greatest thing you could give to another human being. Likbar mesim chesed shel emes. The mace, the corpse, the person who died, is not going to be able to say thank you. He's not going to be able to repay you. And yet, you give of yourself for the others. You begin to see, you know what chesed really is? Chesed is just giving of yourself to another individual. It doesn't require your money, doesn't require your funds, it doesn't require your resources. It just requires you. And how many times in life do we find it so much easier to write a check than to give of ourselves? You know, they say chesed starts at home. And it's true. How much all of us are willing to give anything for our family, right? If our children would need anything, we of course would answer that call. A spouse would need something 1,000%. But do we give them of our time? Do I give my children my undivided attention? Do I give my spouse my undivided attention? My money, you have it all anyway. My money belongs to my mishpacha even before I get it. They already have it. Of course, and whatever they need, 1,000 times over. That's beautiful. And that's wonderful. And perhaps that's even called charitable. But that doesn't make me a Baal Chesed. A Baal Chesed is a person who is willing to give of himself, of his time, of his undivided attention to another human being. And I think for many of us, that's much harder than giving hefty and generous tzedakah checks. It's much easier for us to stroke a check than it is to go ahead and give undivided attention for a variety of reasons. For so many of us, because we're just distracted in life, pulled in so many different directions that we really don't focus on anything. Or perhaps for whatever the reason, we're just sometimes emotionally unavailable. But says Shimon HaTzadik to us, as important is the pillar of Torah, as important as the pillar of avoda, of Torah learning, Torah observance, tefillah, karbanos, is the pillar of gemilos chasadim. If we don't find a way to give of ourselves to one another, then not only are we deficient, not only is the other deficient, not only are our loved ones deficient, but the world becomes deficient as well. That's the great eitzah of Shimon HaTzadik. To give your money is of course understood, but the world needs us to give of ourselves to the other as well. Wishing everyone a wonderful day.